Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I want to have a very practical conversation about artificial intelligence. This isn't going to be a technical presentation at all. Quite the opposite, actually. I'm not going to try to turn anyone into a programmer here, I promise you. And I'm not here to convince you to replace your current systems or any of your employees with AI. My goal is simply to show you several ways property managers and association boards can begin using AI today to save time, improve communication, reduce administrative work, and make better informed decisions. That's the key. Property management is fundamentally a people business. Residents want to feel heard, board members want accurate data, vendors need clear direction, managers need enough time to actually manage. AI should help with those incredible amount of responsibilities. There's a lot of them. And they shouldn't try to remove people from positions or responsibilities. That's not what it's for. My hope is that you leave today with at least one practical idea that you can safely test inside your organization. Here's the central idea behind the entire presentation. AI does not replace good property managers or responsible board members. It helps them communicate faster, stay organized, reduce mistakes, and make better decisions. I like to think of AI as a very fast junior assistant who doesn't sleep, take breaks. It can read information, summarize documents, organize ideas, create a draft for you, compare options, and identify questions that may need to be asked. But like a junior assistant, its work still needs to be reviewed. It doesn't know any personal information. It doesn't know the history of your community unless you provide that history. It doesn't understand personalities, relationships, politics, or the emotional impact of a decision the way any experienced manager does. Can't replace that. And it should never replace that. It also should never be given the final authority over legal, financial, enforcement, employment, or resident screening decisions. The manager or board remains and will always remain responsible for that. The best model is not AI instead of people. The best model is experienced people using AI to perform routine work more efficiently. It benefits everybody. When people hear about AI, one of the first concerns is job replacement. But most property management teams do not have too many employees. They have too many responsibilities and not enough hours in the day. Think about how much time is spent drafting similar emails over and over and over again, searching for documents, summarizing vendor proposals. How about preparing meeting materials for board meetings? How much time do we spend on that? Answering questions that have already been answered over and over and over again, turning notes into reports, rewriting a message because the first version sounded too harsh or maybe it was a little confusing. These tasks are important, but many of them do not require the full experience or judgment of a licensed community association manager or even a senior property manager. That is where AI can help. It can handle some of the final draft work so that your team can concentrate on the responsibilities where human judgment really matters: solving problems, managing people, managing relationships, calming difficult situations, negotiating with vendors, advising boards, and serving residents, the most important one. AI definitely should not make property management less personal. It's actually the opposite. Use AI and become more personal. Property managers are often managing several different communities, hundreds or thousands of residents, multiple boards, dozens of vendors, and an enormous amount of documents and deadlines. At the same time, expectations have changed. Residents now expect faster responses. Board members expect detailed information. Vendors need answers. And emergencies do not respect office hours. They don't care, whatever time it is. Information is frequently scattered across email, management software, shared drives, text messages, meeting packets, contracts, spreadsheets, and individual employee knowledge that's hidden. The problem is not usually that the team isn't working hard enough. The problem is that the talented people are spending too much time locating information, reviewing information, moving information from one place to another, doing repetitive tasks. That creates three risks. First, important tasks can now be delayed when that happens. It happens all the time. Second, communication can become inconsistent. And third, managers can become so focused on reacting that they have very little time left for proactively managing. AI cannot solve every operational problem, but it can reduce a lot of the administrative pressure. Before using AI for a task, I recommend asking 3 questions. First, is this task repetitive? Second, does it involve reading, writing, summarizing, organizing, or comparing information? Third, can a person review the result before anything important happens? When the answer to all 3 of those questions is yes, you may have a strong AI case study. For example, drafting a community reminder is a good use case because a manager can review it before sending it. Summarizing 3 vendor proposals is another good use case because the board can review the original proposals before they make a final decision. The goal is supervised assistance. Let AI prepare, summarize, organize, and identify questions. Let people approve, decide, communicate, and remain accountable. That distinction is one of the most important lessons in this presentation, and I'm hoping I'm making my point with this. Communication is probably the easiest place for most management companies to begin. AI can help create first drafts of community announcements, maintenance notices, emergency updates, meeting reminders, newsletter content, responses to common resident questions, follow-up messages after a service request. The manager still provides the facts and approves the final message, but AI can help improve the structure, the tone, and the clarity. For example, instead of simply asking AI to write an email, give it a clear prompt. For example, draft a respectful email to the residents of a condominium community. Explain that the pool will be closed from Monday through Wednesday for repairs. Acknowledge the inconvenience that this is going to cause. Avoid technical language and provide a contact for any questions, a human contact. Do not add any facts that I have not supplied right there. That final instruction is important. Do not add facts. You got to talk like you're training it because you are. You can ask AI to create 3 versions of the same message, a full email, a short message, and a notice for the resident portal. The practical benefit is not just speed, it's consistency. However, employees should avoid entering private resident information, account information, access codes, medical details, or confidential board matters into an AI tool unless the company has specifically approved that tool and understands the information is how it's handled. Board meetings generate a surprising amount of work before and after the actual meeting. Before the meeting, AI can help organize open issues into draft agenda. It can summarize prior action items and create a list of decisions that need to be made. Most of you are probably have a tool now that you're creating a transcription from the meeting. So you have that, most of you. So AI can take that transcript and better draft the minutes. They can identify motions, votes, and they can create an action item list showing the details and the person responsible for each one. But the word draft is crucial. AI generated minutes should never automatically become the official minutes. The recording, transcript, governing requirements, and manager's notes should still be reviewed. The risk is AI can misunderstand speakers, confuse names, overlook context, or incorrectly interpret a decision or even a discussion. We don't want that happening. A helpful prompt would be, using this transcript, create a draft meeting minutes, including attendance motions, seconds, votes, and action items. Do not include opinions or create information that is not clearly contained in the transcript. Place any uncertain information in a separate section for human review. That prompt can turn a long transcript into a much more manageable starting point while keeping the manager and board in total control. Vendor management is another strong area for AI assistance. Imagine receiving 3 proposals for a roofing, landscaping, security, or let's say a restoration project. So you get 3 proposals. One proposal is 20 pages long. Another one's just 4 pages. But each uses different terminology, pricing structures, warranties, exclusions, and payment schedules. AI can create an initial comparison showing the scope included in each proposal broken down, the scope that may be missing from a proposal, pricing differences, warranty terms, insurance requirements, payment schedules, possible change order risks, questions that should be asked before a decision's made. The instruction could be, Compare these three proposals. Create an apples to apples table showing price, scope, exclusions, warranty timeline, payment terms, and unresolved questions. Do not recommend a winner. Identify any information that cannot be verified from the documents. Notice we're doing the opposite of asking AI to choose the vendor to pick. We don't want that. The manager and the board still need to verify licensing, insurance, references, qualifications, pricing, contract language, and their overall ability to perform that vendor. And plus the human element, that's never going to, AI is not going to have that ability. AI helps the decision makers understand the information. It does not replace due diligence. This can be especially valuable when board members have different professional backgrounds and need the proposal presented in a clear, consistent format. Every association has important information stored inside governing documents, contracts, policies, meeting minutes, insurance documents, inspection reports, and maintenance records. The challenge is often not whether the information exists. The challenge is finding it quickly. With the proper security and permissions, AI-powered document systems can help users search approved documents using normal questions. A board member might ask, when was the roof last replaced? Maybe you say, what does the landscaping contract say about hurricane cleanup? Where's the association's responsibility for balcony maintenance addressed? Which contracts renew during the next 90 days? The system can locate relevant language and direct the user back to the source document. That last part's really, really important. The AI response should not be treated as the official document. Users should always be able to see the actual source, page, clause, or record from which the answer was generated. Companies also need version control. An outdated rule, contract, or policy can produce an outdated answer. A useful document system should tell users which document it relied upon, the date of the document, and where the relevant language appears. AI can also assist with financial review without replacing the accountant, treasurer, manager, auditor, or reserve professional. For example, it can help compare the current budget to prior year actual expenses. It can identify categories with significant increases. It can summarize monthly financial reports for board members who may not have an accounting background. It can compare invoices against contracts approved scope. So wait, we got this scope, but look at this invoice. It can do that really quick. Here's a good one. It can also help develop questions for the accountant or management team. A practical instruction might be, and this is the prompt, compare this year's expenses with last year's expenses. Identify the 5 largest dollar increases and the 5 largest percentage increases. Do not assume the reason for any increase. Create a list of questions the board should ask. That last sentence prevents the AI from turning a pattern into an unsupported conclusion. AI might identify that water expenses have increased, but it can't automatically determine whether the cause was a leak, a rate increase, higher consumption, a billing error, or something else. It finds areas that deserve attention, and it does it quick. People investigate the cause and decide what action needs to be taken. That's the difference between using AI for insight and incorrectly allowing it to make financial judgments. The final 2 uses are resident service and board decision support. For resident service, an AI assistant can help answer common questions using approved community information. It might explain where a form is located, how to submit an architectural request, when bulk pickup occurs, how to report a maintenance issue, or where meeting information is posted. It can also collect the initial details of a request and route it to the right person. But residents should always have a clear way to reach a human being. That's what they want. They don't want AI, especially when the issue's urgent, sensitive, emotional, or not normal, unusual. For board decision support, AI can help turn a complicated issue into a neutral briefing document. It can summarize the background, identify available options, list potential advantages or disadvantages. It can identify missing information and suggest questions for legal counsel, the manager, or engineer, or any other professional. A helpful prompt would be this: prepare a neutral opinion. Prepare a neutral decision memo. Do not choose an option. Present the facts provided, the available choices, the potential benefits and risks of each choice, the information that's missing, and the professional advice that may be needed. AI does not possess fiduciary responsibility. The board does. Its role is to help the board arrive at the meeting more prepared, better organized, and better informed. Here's the beauty. You don't need a major technology project to begin experimenting with AI. Start with one repetitive, low-risk task. Perhaps it's just drafting a weekly resident announcement. Maybe it's summarizing vendor proposals or turning meeting notes into a draft action list. Create an approved process for that one task. Decide what information employees may and may not enter. Create a standard prompt. Just like we went over those prompts, you create one. Require human review. That's a must. Keep the source documents and measure the results. Did it save you time? Was the communication clear? Did it reduce mistakes? Did it improve response time? And in my opinion, the most important, did residents, board members, or employees have a better experience? Once that process is working safely, choose a second use case. The organizations that benefit most from AI will not necessarily be the ones that purchase the most technology. They'll be the ones who identify the right problems, establish sensible rules, train their people the right way, and maintain human accountability. AI should help property managers spend less time producing paperwork and more time managing properties, supporting boards, solving problems, and serving residents. Start small, stay human, and use AI as an assistant, not as the final decision maker. Thank you so much.